Russia is a friend of South Africa, and it will not suddenly become an enemy because others demand it. That's the assurance that International Relations and Cooperation Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor has given to Russia's Minister of Natural Resources, Alexander Lazlov. Now, the ministers are currently co-chairing the 17th Inter-Governmental Committee on Trade and Economics. Our politics editor, Lukhanyo Calata, is covering that story for us, and he joins us for an update. Lukhanyo, good morning to you. Any sign that this meeting, the one that's taking place behind closed doors, will likely discuss the Russian president's being issued with an arrest warrant by the ICC? And I have just heard from the minister in the presidency, Lukhanyo, that cabinet is anticipating a legal opinion on how government will handle this should Mr. Putin step foot in South Africa in August.
Oli, good morning. So, when the minister from Russia arrived this morning, it was very friendly relations between him and, of course, our Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor. They then walked inside and had a meeting for about 45 minutes. I think what was discussed in that meeting, obviously, we don't know. But when we were eventually then called into the larger meeting where, you know, all of the delegates and the dignitaries are meeting, we were then obviously, our minister then made a statement, Oli, where she basically affirmed, the South Africa's friendship with Russia. In fact, this is what she said, Oli.
We have made it clear that Russia is a friend, and we've had cooperative partnerships for many, many years, including partnerships as we combated the apartheid regime, which decimated our people and our country. And while we are friends with many all over the world, we cannot become sudden enemies at the demand of others.
Now, Oli, that is our Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor. Basically, what she was saying there, if you read between the lines, is that there is no chance that South Africa will arrest Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, when he does come to South Africa, because friends do not arrest one another, even if a country such as the United States or maybe even the International Criminal Court wants South Africa to do so. Oli, the second part of this meeting relates really to the interest that I think South Africa shares with Russia, with Brazil, with India, as well as China, of course, when it comes to this issue of mineral resources. And I think what is being discussed at the moment, and the little bit that we were allowed to hear, was that the BRICS countries are trying to consolidate because they realize the amount of resources that they have, within these respective countries. So it's about land, Oli. It's about cooperation, but also specifically how to best beneficiate those minerals that exist in the soil of these countries, to be able for these BRICS countries to work together and also to develop and to thrive. This is what the minister said in that regard around the relationship with BRICS and Russia.
Let me take this opportunity to once again express my sincere appreciation and my wish for honest, productive deliberations that will take our economic cooperation to an acceptable higher level, which would reflect the excellent political bilateral relations that exist between our two countries. I also look forward to us having support from deliberations in BRICS in advancing BRICS cooperation and even further cooperation between South Africa and the Russian Federation.
So, Oli, with all of that said, why would South Africa then scupper its relationship with Russia by potentially arresting the Russian President Vladimir Putin when he comes here to obviously adhere to this arrest warrant that was issued by the ICC, when it's very clear that there's a lot at stake, Oli?
Interesting indeed. Lukhanyo Calata, our political editor, raising some very pertinent questions there. In fact, let's perhaps give you this just as a way of interest. Brand South Africa, this is an agency of the government, publishing this just yesterday, the 29th of March, that valued in terms of purchasing power, the BRICS group now accounts for around 31.5% of global GDP compared to G7 countries. Now, the G7 countries, they account for 30%. That makes it a very, very interesting turn of events. Is it the BRICS versus G7? I think that's where we are in terms of the geopolitics.